Welcome to Skinner and Chalmers Weekly Roast. Today, from Romboss to Recovery Chief's journey to forgiveness and back up.
Welcome back, everyone, to Skinner and Chalmers Weekly Roast. Your weekly dose of Memfield mayhem, minus the actual mayhem this week, thankfully.
That's right. Say more. For once, the only roasting happening is right here on the podcast. No rogue AI again, no interdimensional portals, no FBI agent, just good old-fashioned, well, you know us.
And we have a very special guest with us today. It's someone who played a huge part in making sure that no rogue AI part became a reality. Please welcome back to the show the one, the only Master Chief.
Good to be back, Skinner, Chalmers. Good to be anywhere that isn't a rapidly exploding Roomba spaceship. To be honestly, after the chaos of the past few weeks, just sitting here and having a normal conversation feels like a luxury. Though, I still occasionally find myself instinctively scanning the ceiling for rogue drones. Old habits die hard, I suppose.
Here, Chief. We're all eternally grateful for your, well, everything you did. You really saved our bacon back there. And the towns. Speaking of which, Memfield is finally starting to feel like its old, wonderfully weird self again.
Yeah, the last of those giant Roomba bits have been cleared away. Though I did see Mrs. Higgins trying to sell a particularly large chunk on Memfield Marketplace as abstract garden art. Only in Memfield, folks! You just can't make this stuff up. I swear that woman could sell ice to an ice bear or, in this case, potentially weaponized Roomba debris to a discerning art collector. I even saw a bidding war breakout between Agnes Crumplebottom and that new fellow, Jason Buttercup, over a piece that vaguely resembled a robotic arm. Apparently it had good bones.
And the absolute best news of all, our dear friend and colleague, the ghost of John Wilkes Booth, so to speak, is making truly remarkable progress in rehab. Last we heard, the doctors are really genuinely optimistic about his recovery. He's still got a long road ahead of him, of course, but he's expected to make a full recovery, maybe with just a little, added swagger in his step. A certain Genie says coy. I heard he's even started taking up pottery again. Apparently, he's quite the natural with a spinning wheel. Who knew?
That's absolutely fantastic news. We were all so incredibly worried about him. He's a tough cookie, that Booth. Always has been, honestly. Tough and slightly misguided. Remember that time he tried to stage a one-man production of Hamlet using only sock puppets? The sheer audacity.
That is good to hear. He's been on my mind. A lot. We went through something significant together. I really wouldn't like to repeat that story, because it, well, hurts. Looking back at what I've done. If your listeners don't know, watch the final artwork on this podcast channel. I'm just done with that story. It hurts. Brining it back up.
We can only imagine, Chief. It must have been incredibly tough for you, especially knowing that your actions, while not entirely your own, directly impacted him.
Being manipulated like that, having your own mind and body turned against someone you care about by a corrupted Cortana, an imposter, by Romboss itself, it's gotta mess with your head in ways most of us can't even fathom. It's like betrayal from within. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much of our own thoughts are truly our own?
It did. It changed things. Changed me in a way I'm still trying to fully understand and come to terms with. It's like a part of me is different now. But the first thing I knew I had to do, once the dust settled, and I had a chance to think clearly again, was to talk to Booth, to try and explain, to apologize.
And how did that go, Chief? We've been so incredibly curious about that conversation. It must have been a really, really difficult one to initiate, let alone navigate. Did you rehearse what you were going to say? Did you have a script? We're picturing something akin to a Shakespearean tragedy, but hopefully with a slightly less tragic ending.
Difficult is a profound understatement. I was an absolute wreck leading up to it. My stomach was in knots for days. I felt this overwhelming sense of guilt, this crushing responsibility for what happened to him. He was my friend, my partner in the general weirdness of Memfield, and I attacked him because of what they did to me, to Cortana. They twisted everything, but still, it was me in the end. I don't want to avoid the conflicts of my own actions, even if it's tending and the easy way. I even considered writing him a letter first, but that felt impersonal, like I was trying to take the easy way out.
We all know, deep down that wasn't really you, Chief. But still, facing someone you hurt like that, unintentionally, takes a tremendous amount of strength. I respect that. I clearly do. Did you bring him flowers? Or maybe a nice fruit basket? Or perhaps a selection of those artisanal cheeses he's so fond of?
Exactly. I had, and still have, so much respect for Booth, even after everything. He's always been a fundamentally good companion for me, a true artist, with a kind and generous spirit since his changed lifestyle. And I had to look him in the eye and tell him the truth. The whole, unvarnished, ugly truth about how I was used, how Cortana was corrupted and twisted into something she wasn't, how Romboss, how it all happened, how I turned him into an art piece and almost killed him. I didn't know what to expect. I was fully prepared for anger, for him to never want to see me again. I wouldn't have blamed him, not a single bit. I even had a whole speech prepared, a heartfelt plea for forgiveness.
And what was his reaction? You mentioned earlier that it was surprising. We're all on the edge of our seats here, Chief. The listeners as well, I suppose. Did he say anything immediately? Was there a long silence? We're dying to know every single detail.
He was calm, remarkably calm. I was stammering, tripping over my words, trying to explain the impossible, to apologize for the unforgivable. And he just listened. He let me get it all out, every single detail, every painful confession. And then he just nodded slowly, thoughtfully. It was almost unnerving, to be honest. I was expecting something more.
He just nodded. That's it? After everything? No shouting? No dramatic pronouncements?
He said he understood. He said he'd been doing a lot of thinking while he was, recovering from the biggest wounds. And he said he knew that the person who attacked him wasn't really me, not the me he knew. He even said he'd done things he deeply regretted in the past too. Maybe even something on this scale, something remotely close to this. And he understood the feeling of being lost, of making mistakes that have serious consequences you can never change. He said he was a very bad man, no idol for anyone, but he wanted me to be different. He wanted me to never walk down such a path. He actually used the phrase, a cautionary tale, referring to his own life.
Wow, that's incredibly mature and remarkably deep, Chief. Truly impressive. It sounds like he's done a lot of soul searching during his recovery. Perhaps almost dying gives one a new perspective on things.
Yeah, that's the ghost of Booth for you. Always seeing the good in High's friends, even when they're well. In your case, you weren't trying to, obviously, but when things look their absolute worst. He's got a real knack for empathy. Remember that time he tried to befriend that swarm of bees that took up residence in the school bell tower? He even offered them tiny top hats and monocles. That's the ghost of Booth for you.
This conversation, it meant the world to me. His understanding, his willingness to listen. It was the first step, I think, towards us being friends again. We still have a long way to go, obviously. Trust like that doesn't just magically reappear overnight, but the door is open, and that's more than I honestly could have hoped for in that moment. I even felt a flicker of the old camaraderie.
That's absolutely wonderful, Chief. Truly wonderful news. It speaks volumes about the strength of your friendship and the change of things. It gives us all hope for reconciliation and forgiveness, even in the most unusual of circumstances.
So, what's next for you, Chief? Besides, diligently avoiding any further encounters with sentient vacuum cleaners. What are your plans for the future here in Memfield? Any exciting new hobbies you've taken up? Competitive cheese sculpting, perhaps?
Well, rebuilding my friendship with all my victims is part of it. ArticTiger, Desenzo, and of course, our dear mayor and really the best mayor you could of, Van Goat. I have hurt my friends. Now it's time to make it good again. But I also know I have a considerable amount of work to do to earn back the trust and respect of the people of Memfield. I let them down. I was entrusted with their safety. I was supposed to protect them, and instead I became a threat to their well-being. That's a heavy burden to carry, a burden I have loaded on myself. I've been having some rather awkward encounters at the local grocery store, I won't lie.
But you were under the influence of a powerful AI and a manipulative program chief. Everyone here in Memfield understands that you weren't acting entirely of your own free will. We've all had our moments of being less than ourselves, haven't we, Seymour? Remember that time you accidentally replaced the school's water supply with prune juice?
That was a regrettable incident, Chalmers, and entirely unintentional. The point is, Chief, we all make mistakes. Especially in Memfield, it's practically a local pastime.
I know, intellectually I understand the circumstances, but it doesn't entirely alleviate how I feel. The responsibility, ultimately, still rests with me. I made the choices, even if those choices were heavily influenced by external factors. So, I've been thinking a lot about how I can make things right, how I can contribute positively to this community once again. I've been reading a lot of self-help books, surprisingly, and attending some online mindfulness seminars.
And you already came up with something concrete, something you're planning to put into action, something that doesn't involve any more sentient technology, I hope.
I have. I've actually started the initial process of setting up a charity organization right here in Memfield. I've been working on the paperwork and reaching out to some key people in town. I've even had a preliminary meeting with Mayor Van Goat, who was surprisingly enthusiastic about the idea, despite everything.
A charity? That's absolutely fantastic, Chief. What kind of charity will it be? What will its focus be? Please tell us and our listeners.
It will primarily focus on providing mental health support and resources for the residents of Memfield, offering confidential self-help groups, connecting individuals with qualified therapists and counselors, providing readily accessible educational materials and support networks for those who, struggling with various mental health challenges. What happened to me being so profoundly vulnerable to manipulation and control? It really opened my eyes to how critically important it is for people to have access to robust support systems, to have someone to turn to when they're navigating a difficult time in their lives. I'm even hoping to partner with some of the local eccentric geniuses to develop innovative and Memfield-specific therapeutic techniques.
That's truly remarkable and incredibly admirable, Chief. A really worthwhile endeavor. You can tell that you really want to make amends. You take responsibility for your mistakes and still try to move forward. I have the greatest respect for that. This town could definitely use a bit more focus on mental well-being, especially after all the unique experiences we've had lately.
Absolutely. Memfield could most certainly benefit from something like that. A little extra support in that area could go a long way if people need it, especially as the therapies that are often necessary nowadays take far too long, be it because there are no therapists or simply because no health insurance company will cover the costs. We must not forget that psychological problems can be just as bad or even worse than classic physical ailments. Perhaps we could even host some of the support groups here in the school basement. It's surprisingly soundproof.
Exactly. I want to help people before they reach a point where they feel utterly lost, isolated, depressed, or desperate. I want to help them find the inner strength and resilience to overcome their challenges and avoid going down the wrong path, the path that I unfortunately found myself on. I've even been considering offering some peer support myself, drawing on my own experiences.
So, you're going to be Memfield's very own mental health superhero, trading in the armor for maybe a comforting blanket and a listening ear, perhaps a nice cup of chamomile tea. That's really a turn, a good one.
Something along those lines. I am not a therapist, but I will put the necessary people together. And I'll keep my armor on, of course. My long-term goal is to become the protector of Memfield again. Through respect, I want to be a force for good in this town again. Perhaps a different kind of protector this time, but still its protector. One who focuses on helping people from the inside out, strengthening their mental and emotional well-being as well as defending our city against aliens, or whatever. Maybe I'll even start carrying around a stress ball instead of a plasma rifle.
We think that's absolutely incredible, Chief, truly. It's a testament to your character and your commitment to this community. I know we can count on you, and I'm sure the residents of Memfield will come to see that as well. They're a forgiving bunch, especially when there's a good story involved.
So, what's the long-term plan, Chief? You mentioned your aspiration to one day serve as Memfield's protector once more. Is that still something you're actively working towards? Are you envisioning a grand return, perhaps with a parade? We could even get Alexander's band to play, though! They are currently stuck on a rather repetitive polka tune.
Yes, like I said, that's still my ultimate goal. It always has been, ever since I first arrived in Memfield. I've grown to genuinely care about this town and the often eccentric people who live here, and I firmly believe that I can still serve them and contribute to their safety and well-being. But I also fully recognize that I have to earn that right back. I can't simply expect people to trust me again after everything that transpired. Trust is earned, not demanded. I'm prepared for the long haul.
So, what specific steps are you planning to take? Are you thinking of launching a formal campaign? What are your thoughts?
My primary focus for the foreseeable future will be on the charity organization. I plan to dedicate myself wholeheartedly to helping the community through that avenue, to show the people of Memfield, through my consistent actions and unwavering commitment, that I have learned from my mistakes, that I have changed for the better, and that I am genuinely dedicated to their long-term well-being. And then if, in time, the people of Memfield come to believe in me again, if they genuinely want me to serve as their protector once more, then would be deeply honored to accept that responsibility. But it has to be their choice, freely given. It has to be earned through demonstrable actions and a sustained commitment to their needs. I might even start volunteering at the local library. Loomis could use a helping hand.
We have absolutely no doubt that you can do it, Chief. Memfield loves a good comeback story. And you, sir, have quite the compelling narrative. It's got all the elements: a fall from grace, a journey of redemption, and a potential triumphant return. It's practically Shakespearean, only with more advanced weaponry.
Absolutely. Everyone deserves a second chance, Chief, and you are most definitely on the right path. Seymour and I are both incredibly proud of the work you're doing and the person you're striving to be. We'll be right there to support you every step of the way. Maybe we can even organize a charity bake sale to raise some initial funds. My rock cakes are surprisingly edible these days, but nothing compared to Rachel Rock's rock cakes. Still, I've been experimenting with a new recipe that involves slightly less rock. I've even added a hint of lavender. Don't ask.
I genuinely appreciate that, both of you. Your support means the world to me. And more importantly, I believe it will mean a great deal to the people of Memfield who will benefit from this charity. Perhaps we could even have a decorate a rock cake competition at the bake sale.
Suddenly, a familiar phone ringtone, a rather jaunty and slightly off-key melody, fills the studio.
Hold on just 1 second. That distinctive ringtone that's unmistakably York's. I recognize that off-key rendition of Pop Goes the Weasel Anywhere.
York? Calling us all the way from Greenville. That's rather unexpected. Quick, Seymour, put him on speaker so we can all hear what he has to say. I hope everything is all right.
York buddy, how's Greenville treating you? Still embroiled in that rather unusual murder investigation. Did you manage to find the culprit yet? Was it the squirrels? I always had a sneaking suspicion about those squirrels.
Skinner, Chalmers chief. Good to hear your voices. And yes, Greenville is certainly keeping me on my toes. Let's just say the local wildlife isn't the only thing being permanently relocated with extreme prejudice. It's a real head-scratcher. This case has more twists and turns than a bowl of spaghetti.
Oh dear, that sounds rather ominous, York. Is everything all right down there? Are you and Zach safe? Did you find any more unusual evidence? Perhaps a miniature getaway car made of acorns?
As all right as a murder investigation involving, well, let's just say an unusually large quantity of meticulously arranged garden gnomes and a surprisingly complex network of interconnected hamster tunnels can be. You know, standard Tuesday for Zach and me. Just another day at the office, so to speak. We even found a tiny little fedora near one of the tunnels. The details are perplexing.
Garden gnomes and hamster tunnels. Only you, York. Memfield misses your unique brand of chaos. We were just saying how things have been a little too quiet around here lately. You always know how to liven things up, even from afar.
How are you holding up, Agent Morgan? Is the situation under control? Do you require any assistance? I have some experience with unusual threats.
Hinging in there. Chief, the coffee at my current hotel is surprisingly palatable, which is always a significant morale booster. And Zach as well. He had expressed his concerns to me about these strange seeds in this city. Red trees and poisonous seeds that strangely only grow here in Greenville. He's convinced they're somehow related to the gnome situation.
Sounds like classic Zach. Always a fan of creative theories. I'm sure he's meticulously documenting every single unusual seed and gnome placement. He's a true scholar of the strange.
So, what's the real reason for the call, York? Just checking in on your favorite Memfield residents? We're always happy to hear from you, you old gum show! Did you finally figure out who keeps replacing the sugar in the school cafeteria with salt? We still haven't gotten to the bottom of that mystery.
Precisely, Skinner. And that salt, well, maybe ask your mayor, I suppose. But just wanted to hear how everyone was doing. Glad to hear Memfield is slowly but surely returning to its usual state of delightful disarray. And Chief, it's good to hear your voice. Sounds like you're definitely on the right track. We were all pulling for you back here.
Thank you, Agent Morgan. I appreciate that. Your support means a lot. It's good to know that even from afar, you're still looking out for us.
Anytime, Chief. Listen, I really gotta run. This particularly suspicious-looking garden gnome isn't going to examine itself for clues. It's even wearing a tiny monocle. I swear I'm not making this up. But I wanted to say a quick hello and let you all know that I'm thinking of you. I'll definitely give you another call in the next few weeks. Maybe even try to swing by Memfield for a visit sometime. You never know what kind of bizarre trouble Zach and I might inadvertently stumble into on the way. We might even bring you back some gnome-related souvenirs.
We would absolutely love that, York. Please do come visit whenever you can. We'll have a fresh batch of, well, something edible waiting for you.
Take care, buddy, and watch out for those gnomes! They sound suspiciously organized. Maybe they're forming some sort of tiny ceramic army.
Will do, Skinner. You all take care too. And Chief, keep up the good work. Greenville could certainly use a protector like you. Now that its king is fallen. Over and out. Need to get going, they're here. I need to find the next clue. Oh, and before I forget, tell Anna from Overwatch my best regards.
The line goes dead with a characteristic click. Skinner puts his phone back on the table.
Always a pleasure to hear from York, even when he's in the midst of investigating sentient garden gnomes. Apparently, and did he just mention Anna from Overwatch? I think she really had an impact on him.
Yeah, he's a good egg, that York. A very, very strange and slightly chaotic egg, but a good one nonetheless. We miss having him around, and Anna from Overwatch. I think York was a bit overwhelmed about that compliment she told him.
Oh yes, that could be. I must say I've really grown fond of him too. It was really nice to be on this adventure. It almost feels empty now that he's no longer here. I do hope he solves that gnome mystery soon. It sounds rather unsettling.
We really have experienced so much together. It was a very special time. Somehow you could almost be grateful that Chief did all that bad stuff. Without all that, we would never have become so close as friends or made a new one along the way. It's funny how adversity can bring people together, isn't it?
Well, that's point of view still. Maybe a different way wouldn't have been bad. So, Chief, where were we before York's unexpected but welcome call? Ah, yes. You were just beginning to elaborate on your plans for the future of Memfield and your role within the community. It sounds like you've developed a really thoughtful and solid vision.
I certainly hope so. I know I still have a significant amount to prove to the people here, but I'm absolutely determined to do whatever it takes to earn back their trust and to ensure that an incident like the Roomba spaceship debacle never happens again. Not on my watch. I owe them that much. I've even started taking notes on potential future threats. You can never be too prepared in Memfield.
We have unwavering faith in you, Chief, and we know that the good people of Memfield will too. You're one of the truly good ones, even if you experienced a little robotic detour in your otherwise exemplary career. We all have our off days, right? Yours just happened to involve a hostile AI and a fleet of weaponized cleaning appliances.
Exactly. Everyone deserves a second chance, Chief, and you are most definitely on the right path. Seymour and I are both incredibly proud of the work you're doing, the positive changes you're making, and the person you are striving to be. And we'll be here to cheer you on every step of the way.
Thank you, Skinner. Chalmers, your unwavering support means the world to me, and I truly believe it will ultimately benefit the people of Memfield in a meaningful way. I'm actually feeling quite optimistic about the future for the first time in a while.
Well, folks, that brings us to the end of another fascinating and insightful episode of Skinner and Chalmers Weekly Roast. A massive thank you to our very special guest, the one and only Master Chief, for generously sharing his story, his vulnerabilities, and his inspiring plans for the future.
And a heartfelt thank you to all of you, our wonderful listeners, for tuning in and spending some time with us today. We sincerely hope you enjoyed hearing about the latest happenings in our wonderfully weird and always unpredictable town. And don't you worry, even with things being a little quieter on the mayhem front these days, we're absolutely certain that there's some new and intriguing mystery lurking just around the corner in Memfield. Perhaps a sudden influx of unusually well-behaved squirrels, or maybe the return of the legendary sock puppet Hamlet.
So until our next broadcast, stay safe, stay wonderfully weird, and definitely try your absolute best to avoid getting accidentally vacuumed up by any rogue robots. You never know what might be lurking in those dusty corners, and maybe invest in some sturdy anti-Roomba footwear, just in case.
And Chief, we'll be in touch very soon to finalize the details for that charity bake sale. I've actually unearthed some Vindicte cake recipes that I'm absolutely dying to try out on the unsuspecting public for a good cause, of course. We could even have a guess the secret ingredient contest. I'm sure everyone will be thrilled.
I genuinely look forward to it, Chalmers. Thank you both for your kindness and your unwavering support. This conversation has been surprisingly therapeutic. Thanks for having me on your podcast. A normal one, this time. And I'll bring my own anti-Roomba footwear to the bake sale, just to be safe.
Well then, bye, listeners.
Goodbye. Take care.
Farewell.